Hello and welcome, everybody. I'd like to first start off by saying thank you to everybody who has joined the Cultural Creatives community. I'm very excited to share everything I know with you guys, and I will be launching quite a few courses after this that go deeper and deeper into the different sides of entrepreneurship for Indigenous folks. Okay. So I started out with the mindset of helping the dream guardians of the Indigenous community through sharing my stories and lessons on what the journey of being a dream guardian looks like. And if you guys don't know, my last name is Potskin, and Potskin in Cree means dream guardian. So before we were colonized, this is what we went by. This was our kind of like our clan in a way. So, as my last name means Dream Guardian, my spirit name is also Sound That Thunder Makes Woman, which means that my voice is very powerful, and this is going to help me to protect the dreams of my community. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to share my voice. I'm here to share my knowledge. I do consider myself a knowledge carrier because I grew up as a fourth generation Métis traditional dancer. And I've been sharing the history, the culture, the dance since I could walk, since I can talk. And my grandpa made sure to kind of build me up as an entrepreneur from a very young age. And I've seen many sides. I've seen many different industries. I've worked in tourism. I've worked in Indigenous nonprofits, whether if that's Indigenous entertainment or sports. I worked for the Alberta Indigenous Games for 2 years, and I worked for the Indigenous Edmonton Entertainment Group Association, which we organize the K-Days Indigenous experience. So I'm very lucky to have the knowledge that I have in the different industries. I've made many connections, and I'm very excited to share the different views of the different people that I've connected with, because I will be interviewing them here on Cultural Creatives on the community. So, you know, when I was building this community, I went straight in with all the resources that, okay, this is the different journeys you can go on as an entrepreneur. But I realized that I am a part of a way bigger movement. Before I launch my other resources, my other courses, my other digital products, I wanted to give recognition to that bigger movement that we are a part of as a collective. So, I want to give Carol Anne Hilton her flowers for coining the term Indigenomics and kind of, creating a space that is exploring the data of the Indigenous economic systems. So, thank you, Carol, for all of the work that you've been doing. I believe she started the Indigenomic Institute, and they're working with the global Indigenomic. Hold on, let me see. We're right here. So, Global Center of Indigenomics. I wanted to give that recognition to Carol because she has been doing amazing things in her hemisphere. So we are going to move on to the Indigenous economic systems. And, there is so much to be said about this. And I don't think I can say enough about this. I think that the conversation is going to be constantly alive. And I believe that there's always going to be space for us to add more to the conversation. Okay. So, Indigenous economic systems, or Indigenomics, right? So, hold on, back up. So, before contact, our nations were not isolated, primitive, or struggling to survive. We were part of a vast, sophisticated economic network that structured across the continent of Turtle Island. So, when we talk about trade routes, these weren't simple paths. We were very migratory. A lot of us traveled with the different seasons, and we kind of had base areas that we covered, and often we would come into contact with other nations. And so, you know, these were international economic systems, bridges of diplomacy and specialization and trust, as well as a way that we were building our relationships with one another. Different nations produced what they were strongest in. It could be food, materials, technologies, medicines, and they traded with others of different strengths. That is specialization and Indigenous economic intelligence. So trade wasn't about goods. It was about knowledge, ceremony, and protection, as well as stories and alliances. So when we would come into contact with other groups, often what would happen is we would kind of have a ceremony together to share what needs to be shared. Okay. So for example, I can't share what a ceremony is like, but I can share with you my experience on a 10-day canoe journey. It's called Pulling Together Canoe Journey, and it is hosted by the local Indigenous folks within Vancouver. And so what they do is every year they plan a canoe tour across the traditional territories in BC. So, oftentimes we have to travel with our group to go to the spot where we're starting at. And so each time we enter a new territory, we are welcomed traditionally, and we kind of have a coming in ceremony that we operate as we are entering the territory. So, in order for us to give to one another, there does need to be protocol in each of these instances. So that's what I'm talking about when I say that trade was about knowledge, ceremony, protection, stories, and alliances, because, as Indigenous people, we're very much kinship people. And oftentimes we will have a ceremony family, and that ceremony family is your soul family, right? These are people that connect with you on a more spiritual level, and that also offer protection and alliance-ship, right? And they will share stories that will help your journey. Okay. So, economics lived inside governance, kinship, and relational law. This is important because it contradicts the colonial myth that Indigenous peoples were subsistence-based and undeveloped. So in my next video, we will be talking about the colonial shift, and I will see you guys there.